Hello, welcome back to Werewub, a Universes podcast with myself, Ryan Levine, joined with Middle Cimino, Calvin Harrigal, aka Werewub, and Travis Tangeman. Today, we will be going over the Albuquerque Regional from last week, 2 weekends ago, something like that, as well as AOT Set 3, AOT Apocalypse. I guess let's start with the people who won rounds in the tournament. So that'll be, yeah, not me. I guess. Who would like to go first?
I can go first.
All right.
So I'm sure anyone watching this probably knows I ended up getting second at the event. Remember my round one specifically was me sitting down next to Ryan and both of us playing against the same Air Nick deck and just going, all right, well, we have like really good matchups into Nick, and then it's Air Nick, and they attack us 9 times, and it just implode, and it is like the most miserable feeling possible. Very cool character. Overall, though, my tournament experience aside from that, I'd say was pretty good. I mean, obviously, second place, but I think that there is a lot that they have to do. Assuming AOT does nothing, or like they don't hit Nick, which I hope they do. If they don't hit Nick, then I think we are just going to be back to the same place we were in Albuquerque, unfortunately. But we shall see.
Yeah. I did pretty well too. Ended up at 15th. I think I brought a pretty cool deck this time. Like I think people sort of assumed that Elder either was doing like backup stuff or nothing after the like bans and changes and stuff, and it went pretty well. I think the deck is neat, and like I had a pretty good start to the tournament and then like a pretty bad crash out in the back half. So I did not love this format, but I don't really know what else I have to say about it. It's just kind of like it felt weird going into it. I know we were all sort of exhausted from playing Exandria, and then we just sort of sent whatever. In the end, I was pretty happy with like what I ended up playing, but I just feel like, yeah, like it's not even that relevant at this point. Like, with everything that came out, we were already just sort of thinking about those decks on like Thursday and Friday before the event, and the days leading up to it. So, good event overall for me, but I would have liked to be playing in Top Cut, is what it is.
Yeah, I played a Hawks deck shockingly, and I can say that because I didn't think I would. Everyone else knew it apparently, but
Yeah.
I was gonna play
You were the last person to
the
know.
evil symbol. And then because Barry Shield is just so strong, I think, or I felt at the time. But then in some test games against Mitch in the hotel room the night before the tournament, multiple times, I completely shut down his offense on the Nick Reagan deck, and then just looked at my hand of 5 attacks and just couldn't win. Like I just had 5 attacks in my hand, and we're like, wow, you are completely tapped out and can do nothing, and this does like 26 damage. My deck is unplayable. This is just not happening. I went back to order because I think double jumbo fist was just the only card that lets you actually kill them. Like all the feathers and being 5 damage and just playing a bunch of them. Like you can just a double jumbo fist and a fist and a handful of feathers is just like 30-40 damage depending on your stage. Which I think is just the only way that you can possibly win against some of these decks with like a ton of health. But as Travis mentioned, round 1 I played against the air symbol Nick Reagan deck, and as we talked about last episode, I don't remember if I even said this out loud or if I've just said this to people, or if not, I compare the Nick to how Bertolt felt in Nat's format. I'm almost certain I said that in the last episode. And now that the Air Nick deck has been popularized, I think that even more, which is just to beat the all Nick deck, you have to make your deck really specialized to beat it. And then the Air Nick deck plays the exact opposite way. The all Nick deck will throw like 3 or 4 attacks and just staple huge stats to it. So the only way to win is to reset it or significantly speed reduce it and block or whatever, because you know they can only throw like 4. Like unless they have some crazy besiege double jumbo besiege big fist bash, like pick up besiege teaming, like they're probably throwing like 4 attacks max, and if you can just reset them, then you won't die. The Air Nick deck is not stapling, +10 true 100 stats on every move, but it's just going Warp Gate Portal, Sniping Spy, Warp Gate Portal, Lightning Rod, and it's just throwing literally 9 attacks, and all the attacks are getting 2/2 plus whatever stats the attack itself generates. Like Sniping Spy is going to get an extra like 3 damage, or 4 damage depending on what's clearing, and eventually you will run out of cards to block with. Like one of the games, I think it was game 3. My build was like new number 1, Eden Box, Citywide Crisis, something else. And I'm like, all right, I feel great about this. And then he just went, Kraken, freeze that, commit that. And I went, oh, I'm dead. and then,
it's over.
And then he just played 9 attacks and killed me. And I went, oh, like that's okay. Yeah. Literally, I was like, oh, I see. That's what we're doing.
Okay.
I did have the same unfortunate experience where I like built Eden Box and some stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm not that bad off. Kraken, commit it. I live at like 7. This is on stream. Build again. I'm like, okay, well, I have Eden Box, or not, sorry, Ichigaki, so Team Doctor. And then again, the first attack, the next turn is Kraken. And I'm just like, guess I'll die.
Yeah.
And then the next game, I pick up Fierce Wings to play on Kraken, and he has 2 of them. I'm just like, okay.
Yep.
Cool. Like, I guess.
That'll happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like even if he didn't have 2, if he hits Warp Gate or whatever, he just gets another one anyway, right? Like it's.
Oh,
like,
it was Ross. Ross was not
Ross
playing one
wasn't playing
checks.
Warp Gate. All right. So
yeah.
Before we, I guess like we've probably like overstayed our welcome of doom and glooming on Nick. There was one thing I want to bring up, unrelated to like the gameplay experience of this deck, which is just what I hated most about my round 1 match was just the shuffling was atrocious. Yep. And it's not just like the haha, it's like 120 cards, like shuffling it sucks. It's when you add Warp Gate Portal into the equation, it's just miserable. Like,
yes, it's obnoxious.
When they picked up their deck and then just the beginning of the game, they shuffle, they draw their hand, they mulligan, they shuffle again, they play an attack, it hits Warp Gate, they shuffle again. Not only does it take a while to find the card they want off Warp Gate because their deck is 120 cards, then they shuffle. If they hit another Warp Gate, which they might, 2 attacks down, because, they banished their top 16 cards. If they hit another one, they shuffle again. And it's like, I actually think more time was spent shuffling than resolving effects in one of the games of my match. And I was like, wow, this is awful. So that probably is something that like has to be like even if somehow like it's deemed that the gameplay is not enough to like make a change, like that can't stand. Like that's that is just by the end of it I was like, this is so miserable, like what is happening.
I ranted about it on X. Like there's a fucking wall of text that I posted, and I was like, one of the main things was like, I really hated to have to sit there and watch my opponent shuffle their deck over and over and over and over again. And it actually made the gameplay experience so much more miserable, because not only do I know that I'm losing because my opponent's playing 9 fucking attacks on me, I know that I'm losing and I have to sit there and watch them play a longer, more drawn-out version of Solitaire.
Yeah. I think when like search effects like that are in this game, I mean, again, like Warp Gate Portal's a 1 check. It's supposed to be a strong card. This is clearly not how it wasn't intended to be played from your deck. Like this is not what Warp Gate Portal, like they didn't anticipate. I mean, I don't know, but I feel like having played one of the only characters that actually like searches their deck at all for the last like year, I didn't even play the card that searched my deck. Like I didn't even play the attack that searches Hawk's Feather basically ever, but I did always play the foundation that sends an attack from your deck to your discard pile. And even though that technically can send any attack, it just sends Hawk's Feather almost every time. So for an effect like that, that's a lot more narrow. I'm picking up my deck knowing exactly what I'm sending every single time, and my deck is also half the size. It never really felt like it was wasting time. Like, I don't think my opponent ever was like, this guy's spending years looking through his deck. I would just pick up my deck, send a Hawk's Feather, shuffle, and it was, like a 4-second interaction, which I think it's a little bit different when your deck is twice the size, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to say, like, we need to not have any search effects at all in the game. I think that's maybe a little bit too extreme. But I also think, like, we did just print 2 more search effects in AOT3 with Resurrected Titans and Colossal Confrontation. So Resurrected Titans probably fine. Your deck probably only has 1 or 2 targets that card can actually get anyway. So it probably won't take very long for your opponent to pick up their deck and pick up the 1 legal card they can have. Colossal Confrontation, that one might be like, I haven't played against somebody resolving that card yet, but I have a suspicion it will take a long time. If not, like, because people are not used to that type of effect in this game either, right?
Yeah.
Like,
there's also a world where you don't play against anyone playing that card because other people have purchased a playset of Sweeping Daggers.
That is
they don't want
true.
their opponent
That is
to-
true. Well, that
they don't
means
want their opponent to get the $20 discount on the 9 difference.
That is true. That is true. Yes, that's a separate issue. But, like, I also just feel like when people, in the theoretical world that somebody's resolving Colossal Confrontation, I have a sinking suspicion it will take longer than it should, because people might not, like, be used to resolving that type of effect, if that makes sense. Like, people might not be used to resolving add any card in your deck to your hand. I'm a little worried, but
I could see that being the case.
Yeah.
I think that it might be, it might be time to introduce a deck size limit, unironically. I think that as far as this game has existed, there has never been really a point to having, like, an absurdly large deck size limit. Basically, like, if you can't shuffle with 2 hands or whatever. And the only time it has ever been used, it has been used for bad. And this is like another case of, like, all right, man, I don't think that we should be allowed to run 116 cards or whatever to, like, justify Nick, and then also these players have to shuffle this billion card deck. It's like, it's just annoying, and I think the game could easily get away with, like, 80.
And we're also speaking from experience here, right? Like, we played 116 card decks at Denver, and it was miserable.
It was. It was not fun to play either.
Also, my opponent complained more about the deck shuffling than me. Like, every time he picked up his deck, he was like, God, this is so annoying. And I'm like, yeah?
You're like, you made the sandwich.
I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, it is annoying, isn't it? Like, this shouldn't be allowed.
You should drop.
It was very funny. But, like, but yes, like I don't think anyone has a good time with these comically large decks. And I understand that some people do play, like, larger decks. Like, maybe going from no limit to 80 is extreme, but I definitely think, like, as a, like, stopgap, 100 surely. Like, I don't think there's any reason a deck should be more than 100 cards, like, realistically. And beyond 100, surely it gets too crazy. And then we can, baby steps from there. If 100 is still too insane with the searching effects, like, maybe we go down, to 90 or 80. But I don't know. I do agree that I think I also think that I don't like, just from a logistics standpoint, a subjective deck size limit of anything you can shuffle unassisted is, like, that's nothing. Like, that's, I don't think there should be... That's
incredibly arbitrary.
Yeah,
I don't... Shaquille O'Neal plays our game. Like, what happens now?
Yeah, like I really think that just, like, a limit, a number that can be enforced without any subjectivity is important, because allegedly, you know, there was announcements that at the beginning of the year that we are getting a judge program like officially established, and like that's important. And it's like there are enough things I think that judges have to worry about that, like, I also think, for better or for worse, this game is probably like relaxed enough that I don't think anybody is gonna call a judge and be like, I don't think my opponent is shuffling his deck, like his deck is too large, you know, I don't think he's shuffling it adequately. But if that does happen, what is a judge gonna do? And
Yeah.
what happens if you say my opponent's deck is too large and he can't shuffle it unassisted? I'm pointing really dramatically. You can't see that obviously because it's audio only, but I'm pointing really dramatically, and then a judge comes over and they say, "Yeah, you're not shuffling your deck properly." Like, are they just DQ'd? Like, are
Like,
they
what
allowed
happens
to like
now?
cut
Yeah.
10 cards from their deck? Like I don't, surely not the latter, but like I guess they're just DQ'd, right? Like I guess they're just
Yeah,
DQ'd.
that has
Like
to
I
be
don't, I don't
because
know.
they can't
And
shuffle.
yeah, and that's just like, that shouldn't be a situation that anybody should be put into, and that shouldn't be a situation that like exists within the confines of tournament policy. And I really would like to see a cleanup of tournament policy and floor rules, like kind of across the board. And like maybe that is one I think that like should come first, especially because it hasn't been an issue. It's like not something people have been talking about, and obviously now it is because of this deck, right? And for
Yeah.
other reasons too, I'm sure. But I do think that like that would be a good tournament policy to have an update on. And then I guess before we get too derailed, I have more I want to talk about with tournament policy and stuff. But Mitch, you also entered this tournament with the Nick Reagan deck.
I did.
So how'd
Yeah,
that go?
I played the all symbol Nick Reagan deck, and
How was your
the
shuffling
summary of my
experience?
turn,
How'd you like it?
awful. It was
Okay,
bad.
good. Alright.
The my summary of the tournament was that I hit the other end of variance. The TTS shuffler carried me, and I went 4-3 and got quote unquote top 32. Hilariously enough, um, received my airship promos promptly. Uh, well, not promptly, but you know, that's a different conversation topic. Um, but yeah, no, I did not have very much fun playing the Nick deck, but I clocked in. I got my requisite points. I will be attending day 1 of Worlds minimum,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
yay, woo! But yeah, it was it was awful. My opponents did not have a very fun time when I was winning. I did not have a very fun time when I was winning or losing. But yeah,
Sounds about right. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that
yeah,
seems to
that's
be
the-
the sentiment.
Literally,
surrounding
unfortunately,
this.
average
right?
experience.
Yeah.
Is,
Yeah.
you know, that does seem to be the
Yes,
sentiment.
it was very
surrounding
funny.
this character in
I
general.
had my experience with the Nick character period is very funny in general because my favorite thing that happens in this game, and I feel very bad when it does, but Wub laughs about it, is when people misattribute things that Wub does that I play to me. Uh, where someone like who topped the Europe event with the Nick deck or whatever was like, yeah, I basically just copied Mitchell's list from the case tournament, and I was like, that's actually Wub's list, card for card, bar for bar. Um, which is the same thing that happens with like it's happened to TC in like 2 tournaments I think, where like he'll play me in a round and then go, dang, that was crazy, that deck you're playing is insane, and I'm like, yeah, thanks, and then he'll play Wub runner and be like, oh, are you playing Mitchell's deck? And Wub has to break the news like, I'm sorry, Mitchell's actually playing my deck. Which is very, very funny in retrospect, but like,
You don't give yourself enough credit. I usually send you a pile and be like, make it make sense. What do the numbers mean, Mason? Yada yada.
yes, I try my best, and then
Yeah.
the issue is I like any deck that is a Mitchell deck, unless I specifically talk to you about it for like me to anyone, not even just to Wub, unless I specifically talk to you about the deck for like a full 20 to 30 minutes and give you more than an elevator pitch, it is someone else's deck that I have changed 5 cards. And even when I do talk to you about it for that long, it's usually someone's deck that I have changed 15 cards.
Sure.
But
15
yeah.
cards is a lot, though. I will also say
It is.
that's
It's true.
that's
Yeah.
the difference between a good deck and a bad deck. Unfortunately,
That's
a lot
true.
of the time.
Yeah.
Like,
That's the difference between Evil Hawks and Order Hawks.
kind of actually at this point. Well, yes, sure, I guess. All right. I did say something about tournament policy, and then I maybe Okay, so something I did want to like address. This is like more or less happened and allegedly been dealt with, but like who knows. So something that was like there was a floor rules update. Like it was advertised to be part of the tournament, which is going to be that there would be open deck lists. And that just like didn't happen. And it was just
Yes.
really like weird. Like it just didn't occur and there was no announcement prior or even like as it was happening, there was no announcement. They were just like round one start and people were like, are we not doing deck lists? Or like, oh, no. And just like,
No,
okay.
whoops, sorry.
Like, all right. So yeah.
We forgot.
I
Well,
guess that's
no.
something that like I just like as a competitor, I would like the tournament floor rules to
be consistent?
to be consistent
Yeah.
and to like be adhered to. And if there will be deviations, I would like it to be announced ahead of time.
Ahead of
And
time? Yeah.
I guess like I think it's a big deal. Like I think it's a big deal. I'm not
agree.
going to be, I'm not going to be, like screaming from the rooftops and burning down any buildings, but I think it is important to at least mention that this thing happened and
Yeah.
attempt to prevent it from happening again in the future.
Yeah, I think as
Yeah.
nonsense as he can be, Calvin, not Wub, the best modern chaos symbol player
Mhm.
of our age,
Yes.
in his deck profile and in general, did actually design his deck over the weekend for like open deck list format.
I mean, I think all of us
whether you,
all of us
yeah,
did, like in our testing multiple times we would be thinking, be like, oh, open deck
we would literally
lists,
announce open
like
deck list moment.
like
How many of
how
X
many of
card are
X
in
do you
your
play?
deck?
Yeah, and in testing we were revealing our deck list because we thought we were going to be playing under
to do
those
that.
conditions.
Yes, yeah, correct. Yeah.
So yeah, like
Yeah.
it does like, and also for the record, I almost said if you're testing for these events and you're not testing with open deck lists, you should, because the events will be open deck lists. However, this one just
We don't
wasn't.
know that.
We don't know that.
Yeah.
So actually, maybe don't. I don't know.
Maybe,
I don't know.
yeah, I don't
But
know. Who's to say?
allegedly,
Truthfully,
yeah.
I think for the same reason that like the shuffling thing is super obnoxious, and I would prefer if it like we had a hard limit. I think that open deck lists are only ever going to be used for evil, and we should just let sleeping dogs lie. We should let the thing that was not broken remain as it was, and not have open deck lists for these events. Like in Swiss, let me play against an unknown deck, and that is part of the skill of our game. And any card game, honestly. In Swiss, you should be playing with limited knowledge.
Oh, I
Is
agree
also
with you.
for what it's
Like,
yeah.
I agree. I do not think Swiss should be open deck list. However, the tournament policy said it was going to be, and we tested assuming it was going to be.
Yeah.
So as long as the tournament policy documents say it is open deck list, the tournament should be conducted as such.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. I do think they should change it back.
Yeah. That was
Like,
more like
yeah,
a PSA to
yeah.
UBS. Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
let's stop it, please.
I would
Yeah, but
prefer
also, like-
that it wasn't, but it says it is.
Yeah.
So
And also, for whatever it's worth, this time specifically, it's not a great answer because it is like this is the 7th or 8th time that there has been an issue that is quote unquote outside of your control that
Yeah.
you've had a reasonable answer for. But like this time it was Cardio's fault. But
yeah, allegedly,
that's not great
Yeah.
either way. I'm not happy with the answer. I'm happy that one exists, but I'm not happy with the answer.
I think that happened to me. So Wub and I were at the content summit, which we can't talk about really yet, but eventually we will talk about stuff from it. And a couple of times, both at the summit and outside of it, when I was talking to anyone who could give me an answer, a lot of the times the conversations went as follows. I would be like, hey, X thing is happening and it's pretty bad. It probably shouldn't be happening. And I expected to have like, I'm not going to say an argument, but at least like a dialogue of like the defense of why such a thing was happening. And then I'd have to explain in greater detail why I thought that was wrong. But they just went, yeah, you're right. We should probably fix that. And I kind of just went,
what?
yeah. And then I was like, does that make me feel better? Or like,
Yeah, I don't know how I
I
feel
don't
about
know.
that.
Or I'd be like,
Actually, yeah.
hey, like this thing. I mean, I think it was literally just at the like at the decklist thing. I was like, hey, like this change. This was like not announced ahead of time. Like this is like if you're gonna change it, you should announce it. And he's like, yep, totally my bad. I should have announced it. I'm sorry. And I just went, huh.
Oh.
Like, oh,
Okay.
yeah.
You had your finger in the air. You were like mid sentence, and then you were like, "Oh."
Oh,
Like just took all the
I was
wind
like,
out of
oh,
your sails.
cool.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
No,
So
but
like
yeah.
if it's better the next time, I guess no issues. But as it stands, obviously
Not the case
yeah,
currently. Yeah.
yeah. So benefit of the
Well, all
doubt,
right.
something. If
Yeah.
it is fixed next time, if they either update the policy to say no open deck lists in Swiss, because that doesn't make any sense and is no other game does it and is bad. Sorry, that wasn't part of the policy. That was just that.
That was
Anyways,
just your own personal.
yeah, sorry, that was just
That's
me.
not documented.
Visceral
But,
reaction.
Yeah, but either change the policy or do it. So yeah,
Yes.
I didn't
Yeah.
mean for that to take
Wow.
6 minutes, but here we are. Any other
Yeah.
thoughts on tournament policy or otherwise, or we can move on to anything else, I guess.
Yeah, let's, another I'll just put my 2 cents on the record again. Please
Mhm.
have a visible timer. I don't care that it's in a warehouse or like gone or you left it at like your mom's place or it got shipped somewhere else. Just buy a clock, man. Put it on like a TV.
Yeah. Get
Like,
someone.
don't-
I will get up in a clock suit. Like at this point.
Yeah,
Like
you must-
I will put on the clock suit. I'll move my hands around. Like I don't know,
Yes.
man. Like we just
hire JJ to be your judge. Have him have his stupid display sunglasses and just have the timer going across them, and then I can look. It's like he'll just walk around and just look
Yes.
at people. It's like, all right, acceptable.
Okay, so
Anyway, yeah.
that was Albuquerque, I guess.
That was Albuquerque.
There was no
Yeah, that was
clock. It was
Albuquerque.
closed deck lists, and the Nick Reagan deck was obnoxious. There we go. Other than that,
also Albuquerque.
other
Also
than that-
Albuquerque, the city, very bad.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
Did not-
let's not do that one again.
we're not
did
talking
not-
anymore about it, but Albuquerque, the city, was not good.
yeah, I
Yeah.
did not have a good time, unfortunately.
They filmed
Yeah.
Breaking Bad there. Did you know? Hey, did you know
Yeah,
they filmed Breaking
that's-
Bad there?
They sure did.
Or wait, did they actually film it there, or it just takes place?
Yeah.
Did they also film it there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right, that's pretty good.
That's
not bad.
The house that you probably saw at some point that has a
Mm.
giant gate around it is the woman's house that people throw pizza on because they're awful.
Okay.
Fair
enough. Fair enough. All right. Okay. So.
But yeah, I guess moving.
AOT3. I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say something fun at the Albuquerque event. There was like the AOT3 spotlight event, and usually the spotlight events don't like, fire with particularly many people outside of people who are just trying to get prize wall tickets, which I've just realized we didn't really talk about, but we won't because that would be another 30 minutes. Like having.
Oh wait,
that
actually,
many
sorry. Before we
people-
go into it, actually, I do want to talk about prize wall for a little bit because something that they asked us in the content creator summit email was talk about the prize wall, and for those of you listening, leave a
put their
comment
hand
with
on the
things
stove,
you
huh?
want to be on the prize wall, and maybe that, I don't know, they're looking for ideas for stuff to be on the prize wall. So for those of you
Sure.
unfamiliar with the concept of the prize wall, if you are no longer in the main event because you suck like me, or the tournament ended like Travis, I guess, and then you are playing side events, you get prize tickets, and you can exchange these for currently promo cards, playmats, enamel pins, uncut sheets, etc. And they are considering expanding the things that you can get for prize wall tickets. So if there is something that you want, vaguely universes themed, that is reasonable to create, like some people said, t-shirts or bags or whatever, if there's some weird thing that you think would be good to put on the prize wall, or I guess would be good to put on the reward store for rewards points also, leave a comment, because maybe it'll get made eventually if it is reasonable enough to be doing so. Yeah, that's all I got. Anyways, continue.
Yeah,
AOT3.
that's good enough, probably. Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it was very telling that people were excited for like AOT3 format forward. That many people signed up for the side event period. And that being said, now that like our first episode of this, I think we were just talking about like the characters, and then the second episode we talked more about like interesting ideas, but also it was before Albuquerque, so a lot of us were still focused on Albuquerque. And now that we are like a week removed from Albuquerque and have going on, we can discuss like here's interesting things going on in AOT3. And it seems from my initial impression to be just the Wild West. So like
Yeah, I think Webb and I had near opposite experiences. Granted, I think we
Oh,
played
yeah.
near opposite decks. Also, it's just like
Yeah.
I just played against Calvin's Godzilla aggro deck for like 5 hours, and miscellaneous flavors of chaos aggro, and it was like, okay, you either die instantly, or if you get past like turn 2 or 3, you can just never die because that's just how these cards work now. Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
I played Peak. I played like a lot of Peak, and I played different versions of it. I played some with the backups and the backup synergy card, and well, singular backup synergy card. I just put United Front in the Peak deck because obviously character and foundation are just you start the game with those, and then
Yeah,
Peak
you get
searches
those
an
ones on the
asset.
house.
Yeah, and then Peak searches an asset with her character. So you just need to find a backup, which generally means you draw one of your, like 4 to 5 backups you put in your deck, or you draw one of your shift attacks, or you draw duplicitous recollection. So you have, 16-ish, like 12 to 16 cards you can draw, and that's the only color that you don't accumulate naturally just for existing. So United Front was pretty consistent, and once you got that engine going of United Front, first wielder, like readying United Front, falling heel strike, unflipping first wielder, it was really hard to run out of cards and really hard to not have answers to literally everything. But if you don't draw United Front, then it really felt like a lot of my cards were just kind of underwhelming because they were there really to just facilitate United Front. And if you didn't draw your payoff card, it didn't feel great. But I'm sure there are ways to improve that in the future. And I'm sure, like either you don't play that character with United Front and you just play like a better, more consistent, a more consistent deck, maybe not better, but or you do play more cards to facilitate that happening. So, or that character's bad. Who knows? Like, could be any. Literally, as Rich said, could be anything.
Yeah, any
Any of
combination
these
of
could be
those,
true.
yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean, similarly, like playing a bunch of nonsense right now because it's early format, and then like I just feel like the offense that I'm mounting that is not. So I'm exploring a little bit, right? Like I'm not playing pony. I'm not stuffing 10 weapons and clearing them from my card pool with Mikasa, or playing Porco and sending 40 damage turn 2. I'm trying to do things a little bit outside the box, but I just feel like Filled with Doubt and Airship form this like defensive combination on Infinity that just make it so hard to break through. Like almost, it feels like fake defense. Like it feels like they're doing almost nothing, but it's enough, and it's like very, very frustrating. Again, Infinity simple problem. Anyone can do this, right? Like this could just be like round 3 opponent playing Ochako that decided to put these cards in their deck, and you just can't kill them. And
why don't
maybe
you
that
pick
means that I'm not
Ochako
playing.
as an example
I don't know.
character of a really
I think
bad
it was my
deck?
round 3 opponent. He did well. Like his run in particular was good, but a particular person on this podcast tends to go to that character and not do so well.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah, that's why it came to mind.
Okay.
Anyway,
Kind of
Yeah,
mean that
your
you would do that
your
to
round 3
Travis.
Ochako opponent or your round 4 Hawks opponent could just high roll
Could just
you
do
with Filled with
anything.
Doubt Airship.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well,
That was,
no, it just
I don't
feels
know, that was
like
an odd thing to say. I don't know.
Yeah, weird. Yeah,
it just feels like
Feels
to
a little
live right
targeted.
now, if you're not playing one of these insane offense decks, like you just need to step 1 of 6-hander health, like 30 plus 6-hander, not those crappy old ones,
With
Step 2,
27.
run these 2 infinity cards,
Yeah.
and then 3, draw them. Like I don't know. It just feels like that combination is so irritating to get through right now. And it sort of feels like how VME just sort of let you trivialize all kinds of stuff. Like, it's like surprise infinity cards again are back and annoying. But I enjoy what's going on in the format. I just struggle to figure, like, I haven't cracked the code yet to sort of get through that like baseline that I think anyone can put in any deck, right? So like that is definitely a this tall to ride kind of situation. Like you must
Yeah.
be able to get past that stuff.
And
Zeke's cool though. I've been having fun with Zeke. He's
so
cool.
so to kind of add to your thing with filled with doubt, the issue I have with deck building right now is every even remotely cool deck I think about, I'm just like, well, if they filled with doubt this attack, it does literally nothing. And
Yeah.
if they sweeping daggers this attack, I die instantly. And it's just so hard to it feels really restrictive on what you can put in your deck like profitably, because now it's like you don't even have to like, before you're running the risk of, if I check my attack instead of drawing it, they can sweeping daggers it and then they get the cool payoff of my attack and I don't, and that feels bad. Now it goes a step further of, if they filled with doubt my cool attack, I can't even resolve it when I draw it, and then they can sweeping daggers it.
It's
and
also
then
like
and then you
exactly.
can fill without them, and it's like, then what are we doing?
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. It's like incredibly incongruous that like all of these cards are in the same set. Like,
You know?
why are we sealing the shift attacks that cost me 9 to play so that they do nothing? Like, I
Well,
don't.
I think
don't
there
get-
should be like I understand the design philosophy of like we want to have counterplay for
I think
these
this
things.
counterplay is too like, I think
But
we already
it's
had
it
that. Like,
generic.
if
Yeah,
you
too
so like,
generic.
I think high speed dodge, we saw that card. That card saw play in multiple top cut lists of nationals to stop colossal detonation and
And Walmarias, yeah.
Walmarias, right? Like these incredibly impactful attacks. But we didn't just have these decks maining for high speed dodge, because that's just like not, because that's not what that card was for or what it did. Filled with doubt, my opponent could have 4 of those in their main deck, and I'd be like, yeah, that's a good deck. Like, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
what, right? Like I think the cost of the card is too low, and what it does is too strong. Like, this is not like, I don't want to see these anti attack effect cards like in the main deck. Just, oh god, because it just feels like it not just sealing like a high cost attack. You can just seal like a falling heel strike, and then
Yes,
god, they
yeah.
played a 2/4, or you,
Mhm.
God forbid you seal a patchwork baby. That card does nothing.
Yeah.
Like, that's a 5/3 mid
Take
1.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's
All
just
right.
like it's
Yeah.
it's so many of these cards just seem absolutely backbreaking to get filled with doubted, and that could just happen anytime. And it feels like we've had cards like this. Genkai's Guidance is a card that has existed, but there's a cost associated with playing that card. Sacrificing 3 foundations is a lot, and
That is
Genkai's
so
Guidance is on
much,
5
yeah.
symbols. Literally might as well be infinity. Like, it's like that card's on so many symbols. Like that card it played in a lot of decks, but it wasn't just like every single deck is maining multiple of them. And there was still just a little more counterplay, I feel. I don't know. Filled with Doubt is one that maybe I'm overreacting. Like, I do acknowledge that obviously these cards have been out for such a short amount of time. I could be overreacting, but just from these day 1 builds, or like, week 1 or week 2 builds, of just like the number of copies of Filled with Doubt has slowly been increasing in all of my decks, because every
Right,
single
yeah.
time I draw it, it's just so strong. It's just like they play an attack and I go, I don't feel like interacting with this. I'm just gonna Fill without it, and now it's just gonna be base stats and I don't care. Like,
I mean, let's put it in perspective too, right? Because like Nonagon is a card that exists
yeah,
and does the exact same thing as Filled with Doubt, except it's a 3-diff foundation that not everyone can play. It has to sack itself. Like, it's crazy that we print Nonagon and then we print an action that does the exact same thing that anyone can play. And like that's not even talking about the gameplay loop that this card contributes itself to, which is like the Ghidorah that I played against in finals. Shoutouts to Andrew. This is a very, very good deck, obviously. That just sits behind 7 different I don't want to deal with this like attack answers, and you don't get to play the game unless you play 9 attacks that all do something so threatening that they have to use a button on each of them.
Mhm.
I just don't think that's good for the game, and I don't think it's going to be healthy in the long run. Because
Yeah,
for like,
it
sorry, just to keep
yeah,
going
you're
for a
fine.
sec.
You're good.
The For someone like me, I'm okay with that style of gameplay because I have been there. I love playing we played a 20 and then it's a chess match, but a majority of players do not want to play that. But we have a lot of players that just want to get in, get out. They don't want to play an hour and a half, 2 hour long game. They don't want to see a 2 hour long finals match. And for those players, because we have to consider those people too, I'm not just going to consider myself. This is not good for the game in any aspect.
Yeah. And like that's also obviously to do with like rounds being timed. Like if your game plan is end game a chess match that takes an hour, you will just be in the draw bracket with Ryan's deck.
Yeah.
And like I think it's just interesting. Like I don't know. I have not sunk my teeth into the AOT3 format I needed to like have a well formed opinion, but I guess in the back of my head I do think it's kind of interesting that like the guy who came from Magic has greenlit or like him slash his people have like made two generic functionally artifacts that were broken, like runner, as well as like generic spell card that's broken. So like I don't know. It feels like we should have learned from that already. Like
I guess
maybe
artifacts
we
technically
don't
in
do that.
Magic are all generic, more or less, right? So
No, I get it. Yeah, I'm
I guess
saying
from the
like
design perspective, but
yeah.
yeah, I think I lost the trail where I was going. Oh, so yeah, the like filled without thing is like I agree with what you're saying, Travis, where it feels like you're being forced into these long games. I think you have two polar options, right? Like you can do the like crazy aggro string thing and try and get under, or just play so many attacks that one seal is not the answer, or even two if they have airship. Um, but like there, it feels like mid range is like being just taken out of the game once again when we felt like there was a chance for it to come back because vertical is gone, right? Like
Yep.
vertical was necessary defense, but it did also allow like the lightning blast decks to actually connect their hits and stuff like that. Whereas now lightning blast just gets sealed. Um, you hit for 6, that's not bad, but that's not game when you're hopefully killing them with the card earlier. I don't know. It's tough. I'm not a fan of the. I enjoy playing with these cards. They allow me to live, but I don't like the direction they send the game in, I guess.
And I think that's a valid. I think you're allowed to think both those things at the same time. I think
Yeah.
you're allowed to play
I
the
agree,
card
yeah.
and go, "This is strong, like cool," and then also be like, "This is format warping, and I don't like
Yeah.
that." But
Yeah.
I think those are two valid thoughts at the same time. And like, I guess again, my biggest problem with Filled with Doubt isn't even necessarily the text on the card. I think it's all the numbers surrounding it. I think the like opportunity cost of playing it versus playing a different card in its slot that would have a similar functionality is just so low. When you compare it to the other actions, it's like, as I said, like Genkai's makes you sack 3 foundations. Runaway is a 5 diff 4 check with like a 5 mid block, right? Like I've just blocked with Filled with Doubt, like already. Like my opponent just sent a mid attack, and I've been like, oh, this is a 2 mid. Like I'll just block with it. There's like all of it checks a 5. Like I think if it checked a 4, there would at least be like something. It's a 2 diff, so you can even block an attack and then guaranteed pass it on the second attack, even if you're fully tapped out. Like, there are just so many numbers that could have been tweaked in any direction to make me feel like it wouldn't just be a no-brainer near auto include. And I'm not saying every single deck's gonna play 4, but I feel like every deck should play at least 1, and probably 2, like almost no matter what. It just seems too good not to.
Yeah, it does feel like Runaway was a card that was designed looking backwards because there's an old card called Dodge that in theory did something similar. It's not the same at all. However, it had a no block. Runaway has a +5 mid. It has the same 5/4 check, etc. I don't know if there's an equivalent for Filled with Doubt, but I don't think there really is. The closest thing I can think of is like there's an asset from back then that like sealed weapon attack, and that card was incredible. This is from hands. You don't have to build it, and it's infinity. So you just the asset was infinity too, but like
Yeah.
it's not keyword locked. Like you just seal anything, and it's
Soul
like this
Calibur, right?
feels so
Yep.
much stronger. Yeah, Soul Calibur's the other one. But that one felt like Runaway feels like it was designed looking back at old cards, and Filled with Doubt is just like, yeah, let's just throw this in. Like, here you go, seal whatever,
Yeah,
pick it back
it
up.
feels very like it is familiar territory for like all of us because we have played other card games like Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that, where these just feel like staples. Like because they are infinity, like there's no reason for you not to run one copy of like the Universal Reset that I can't remember the name of. There's no reason for you not to run
Moment of
like
Normalcy. That's
yeah.
another card that we
There's
can
no
talk
reason.
about too. That card's
Yeah,
also
there's no reason for you.
crazy.
Yeah, there's no reason for you not to run at least like one or two copies of Filled with Doubt if you want to, right? Like there's no like cost to doing so. It is just that good, right? Like
Yeah. It sucks because I play Yu-Gi-Oh and I enjoy that game and how it works, and I enjoy hand traps in that game. I play UVS for very different reasons, I'd say, although they are tempo-wise very similar games. Uh I think we need to like dial down the hand traps. Like I was okay with Genkai's and Jury to an extent, even though I think that those cards tend to lead to a toxic gameplay loop when they're like being used to their max potential, because they are almost impossible to play around unless you have an action cancel,
Which is
or
not
just
playing
like
around a card, like
yeah,
having a
yeah.
card face up on your stage that just says cancel an
Yeah.
action. I don't consider like playing
I've played around
around
it.
something.
Right, yeah.
You're just, that's
Yeah.
not really, yeah.
like you have the answer to it, I guess
Yeah,
is
yeah,
is the
yeah,
better
yeah.
statement.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like
yeah.
there's no way to play around those cards, and like the more we keep printing them, the more like we hit a critical mass where like yeah man, I can run Genkai's and Filled with Doubt in my deck and say you never get to play the game into like a meaningful fashion, or I can run Jury plus Filled with Doubt, so like I'll Filled with Doubt your first one, and then oh your next one got too big, I'll Jury that one, and it's like ah, why? Please stop.
Oh no.
All of these are tutorable off Fierce Wings. Please stop.
Yeah, that one too.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, Jira doesn't share any symbols, but
It does.
Fold with
Good.
which it does share
Good.
good. Oh my
Good.
god.
Yep.
Sorry, that
Good
symbol's
symbol.
deleted from the
Good
game.
symbol.
I forgot.
Good symbol.
Yeah, but Filled with Doubt, that's on anything. So Fierce Wings also.
Yep.
That's also my goat. Fierce Wings being
Yes.
maybe too broken, also, but that's for another time. that card's insane, but
Nah, Fierce
Yeah.
Wings is only as good as the cards you're getting with it.
that's true.
Check
Well, the
it
cards
out.
I'm getting with it
Oh,
are pretty
God.
good.
Better and better.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
It's
Cards.
10 damage echo you can get now, or
that's
whatever.
true. That is true. On
Ah.
every symbol of Hawks,
Sorry,
you can pick
6
up
damage. Yeah.
You can pick up
Yeah, you can get that.
Thunder Spear Barrage. That's true. That
Crazy.
they did make that one order attuned. That'll be
Yep.
good. That one will be nice.
Yep.
People will love that.
They didn't make it a mid though, so it doesn't get extra stats from Double Jumbo Fist. They at least knew that much.
Yeah,
They were smart about it.
Yeah.
The Phantom
They knew
Menace
the power of
cost.
Hawks.
Yes,
Yeah.
literally. Yes. Oh god.
Someone out there is still keeping an eye on Ryan, who watches The Watchmen.
Anyways. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
that's
guess,
the only reason Hawks isn't going to win every event for the next 6 months is because they didn't make Thunder Spear Barrage a mid. That's the only reason. Yeah, that's
it's true.
Mhm.
Everybody knows that.
For sure. Yeah.
I take less umbrage with the unique Infinity Foundation being like a reset. That's fine. Like you should expect to play through like a reset or two. It's a good card. It's a very good card. I just am not like fatigued with it. I see
I
that
just
it's
feel like
there.
I'm kind of
okay.
shocked it was only a 2 diff. To be honest,
Yeah.
I feel like if they made
yeah.
that card a 3 diff, it would still be
Played
played.
and
I think it
good.
should
It's a little
remove.
pushed.
It should remove for sure.
instead of
yeah.
commit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think
well,
it
I
can
mean,
be a 2, but it
maybe.
removes. And then I'm like, that's
Sure.
fine. I have no
Okay.
issue with this now.
Well, I mean, you've just described an infinitely worse card. But yes, that's
No, I
Correct,
agree,
yeah,
but you know,
like you've described a card that's near incomparable because it is so much worse.
but it would be an infinity reset, right? Like it would give
yes.
everyone access to it. And for a
Yes.
while, that's just what we had is just removes. Like
That is
there are very
true.
few commit ones, and then we're just given this, and it's
That's
like
true. I actually
far
can't
better.
think of other than the new number 1 and Eden.
Yeah, I was gonna say, other than your goat,
What?
yeah, I
Yeah,
think
sorry.
you
New
can.
number 1 is my true goat. Actually, Fierce Winds
Yeah.
is
the
only
the
okay.
best card in your deck in every deck you've
New
played
number 1
ever.
has been the best card in my deck for over a year. What else? Eden Box and new number 1, are those the only commit resets?
Probably, I think, yeah.
I can't think of anything else.
Yes.
Huh.
There's some flip ones like Fashion Icon.
Yeah. There are definitely there are a lot of flip ones, but okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it being a commit reset because like with the other two cards we named, it's answerable. Like we've got there are a bunch of different answers that exist to it, and it's like it's telegraphed too. So like this
Yes,
one,
it's
I
true.
can play around. I can be like, oh, you have a reset on board. I'm not going to push this button to force you to use your reset, and then I can press the button. Like that leads to interesting gameplay. The other cards that we mentioned do not.
Yeah. I do like that it like the offensive decks will use it to not die, but then also they'll get barrier shielded and be like, nah, tap +5 speed. Right?
Yes.
Like there's actual counterplay now, and that feels good. So I
Yeah.
do like that aspect.
Yeah, I maybe think having it be speed or damage was maybe a little too generic. Like maybe pick one, but
Yeah.
that's whatever. Like I this card, yeah, I have far fewer qualms with this card than filled with doubt. Maybe mainly because it is a face up foundation. Like you can look at it and be like, this exists.
Yeah.
Like I will plan accordingly.
That's
And I
fair.
do
I'm
think
down for it
that's,
existing.
like,
Like
I do think that's like
I
a
understand
key
that it's
part
push, but
of
yeah.
it's definitely strong. But I do think that is like a key part of this game as well, is like a lot of the cards are face up, and like both players are operating with not perfect information, but like, because obviously you don't know what attacks your opponent's hand and they don't know what blocks are in your hand. But other than that, the things that like influence the numbers on the card are largely face up, and you can make reads based on how they're using their cards to interact with your, like you have a high attack and you give it a lot of damage and they don't do anything. Okay, they probably have high blocks in their hand, etc., etc. This is obviously very like baseline stuff, but I'm not the. I just only fill with that. I guess that's that's where it all circles back
that's
to.
where we're at.
That's
Yeah.
oh well.
I don't
In
know.
conclusion, goodbye, filled with doubt.
To me, with like the chess analogy, it's like playing chess against your opponent, and then like they make a move, and then suddenly your piece just explodes, and it's like, haha, gotcha. It's like, oh, that's what
Yeah,
hand traps are to me in
fool,
this
you
game.
didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you didn't know I had an explosive chess piece.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same in Yu-Gi-Oh, but we're so used to them. I feel like it's just Stockholm syndrome at that point. Like
Yeah.
and like the pace of the game, right? Like
Correct, yeah.
you're just not allowed to play if they don't exist. So
Yeah, and I mean, I think also in that game, it's more expected. Like you
Right.
you are sequencing
It's
your
apples to
cards
oranges.
with the expectation that they will have something. In this game, there are not that many of them, so even if they play them, they're still unlikely to draw them like consistently. So
yeah.
you like, by playing around them, you are purposefully, or by building your deck to play around them. Like, I am purposefully making my decks worse to not get blown out by Filled with Doubt and Sweeping Daggers. And then my opponent either does not draw them or does not play them in their deck, and now my deck just sucks. And it's like,
that is the other thing,
line, right? Like, where do you draw the line of just like, I'm just gonna put Colossus SWAT and True 100 back in my deck, and then my opponent's gonna Sweeping Daggers them, and I'm gonna explode. Like, they're gonna build to enough powerful 4 on their 4 diff, and I'm just gonna die.
No, then you'll Filled without their Sweeping Daggers.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. You're right. No, that's true. I could think that's what'll happen. You're right, actually.
Yep.
That is the issue as well, is like Ryan said, we are not doing the Yu-Gi-Oh thing where we're knowing that we're going to play into hand traps, and so we're making our decks better and more efficient and playing more good cards, so our opponent has to use more answers. we have to play our decks with worse cards because Sweeping Daggers exists. And it's like, oh, I either get fucked by the hand trap or I get fucked by Sweeping Daggers, and I have to pick one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm
Pick
just
your
thinking
poison,
like
yep.
Colossal Confrontation can search filled with doubt. I guess if
Yeah.
you dodge filled with doubt on your Colossal Confrontation, you get to add filled with
Yeah.
doubt to stop their
Summon
Sweeping
Sage,
Daggers.
Search
Yeah.
Veiler. Yep.
Basically,
Yes,
that's what's happening. Yeah, I don't know.
Everybody
It's
does
gonna
we,
be
that,
we
weird.
steal the Blue Eyes gamers. That's how we
That's
get
true.
popular.
That's true. Like this. I don't know. As I mentioned, like a little prior, like maybe when we have more time with all these cards, it'll make sense. But right now, like the vision eludes me because we haven't even gotten to like the outwit cards in this set that I think are disgusting.
Oh, the Botans thing is crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yes.
so there's 3 outwits that are particularly notable. Let's start with Yelena's Machinations. That's barely an outwit card because it flips itself back face down and face up, and they will play it face up and they will flip it face down with its own effect. That card is basically Specialist of Sound that draws a card. That's like
Yeah.
basically what it is, and that's on a 3 diff. I think that's a reasonable card actually. I think that's
Yeah.
a reasonable card. It's Specialist of Sound that draws a card on a 3 diff, and Specialist of Sound is a sick card. That card's cool, and it
We love that
actually.
one.
I didn't even think about the fact that Specialist with Sound, when you check it, reveals the top of your deck. Yelena's Machinations just looks at that card is just Specialist of Sound, actually, but a 3 diff.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't realize the analogy extended to both effects when I said that. So yeah, that card's sick, and it's barely an outwit, as I said, because it just flips itself face down. Like you're not really like doing anything sneaky with it. I think
Crazy,
that
yeah.
outwits usually do, but the other 2 are Military Tactics, which is on Death, which I think Travis has felt very strongly about that card in the past. I don't know if you still feel as
Yeah.
strongly about it. As
No,
he
I
did.
do.
Okay.
That card is still so like the main thing that really annoys me about that card is the fact that we printed a life attuned card that is like so like the stats on it are so much worse than Military Tactics. It's not repeatable. The like payoff you get for it, oh, -1 to their check. I don't care. It's their 3rd attack anyways. I'm just trying to bounce it so they can't play more.
Yeah.
Like that's
And-
the thing that frustrates me the most about it.
Yeah, and it's on the symbol with greater goal, so it's pretty easy to
Yep.
constantly flip it back face down. And when I said like I don't really see the vision of this set, what I mean is like we see these huge big cards getting printed, and we see like 9 diff Colossal Confrontation. And I go, oh my god, this is finally an effect that I think is powerful enough that I would put a 9 diff in my deck on purpose. It's such a cool effect. It's not instantly game winning, but it is an effect powerful enough to be worth spending your whole turn. Under the assumption that you could, even checking a 5, you're committing 4, but if you check a 3, you commit 6, you're probably just building out and passing from there. This card is powerful. And then I go, well, they just printed this action that seals it, so it does nothing. So I'm checking a 3, tapping 6, they filled it without it. I go, all right,
Good.
send my
Yep.
attack that is big stats, I guess. It's like an 8 mid 10, but I just committed 6, so they're probably blocking it because that's all I'm gonna play this turn. And then I'm building and passing whatever. And then it gets or I check my really cool attack and then they Sweeping Daggers it and they get this effect that I deemed strong enough to play on a 9 diff on a 4 diff and just put me in the dumpster. Like if Sweeping Daggers copies Colossal Confrontation, like I'm conceding. Like it's done.
So Ryan, you mean to say that we
Um,
shouldn't be stapling effects on higher cost cards to cards on
Maybe.
lower cost?
I'll get to that.
Right.
so then I go, okay, filled with doubt, whatever, like Sweeping Daggers, big attacks are out. Like big attacks, no good. Let's do a
We
bunch
hate
of
those.
little attacks.
Yuck. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like yuck. Because if my opponent Sweeping Daggers my 4 and 3 diff attacks, that's fine. They're actually paying extra or just paying the regular cost of that. Like that's fine. And then I go, okay, then you do a string and they Dramatic Rescue, is that the card? Wait, is that the one? the card. It was the prize card for this event. It's like
Yes.
when you take damage, your moves cost extra or whatever. Like it makes all your opponents difficulty +1 or all their checks -1 or something for the rest of the turn. Or they military tactics
Frantic rescue,
frantic rescue, or they military tactics and they bounce your attack, and it's like, what do I do? Because the answer to that would be to go to, I guess, like a mid-range ish, but we've also established already earlier we don't think that works either. So I
that
don't
doesn't
know.
exist, yeah.
And again, like I guess it's a good thing that there isn't like a clearly dominant strategy, but all of them feel like they get hard countered so heavily by different things. I truly have no idea what I'm meant to be doing that doesn't just feel awful. But
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe there's more. Like and again, this is still so early that maybe something will, it'll be clearer, I guess, but I'm not sure what to do. None of it feels particularly great. And then the last outwit card that is like probably really toxic if you build your deck around it is Bleak Commentary, which is outwit when your opponent draws a card, they discard a card. And it doesn't say when they draw a card by their effect. You can make them draw a card. You can Botan's coaching them and then flip all of your Bleak Commentaries and they discard their hand.
As Ryan put it, Droll reincarnation.
Yeah, and like JJ built an Armin 3, Armin 4, whatever the newest Armin is.
Armin 4.
Yeah, around
Fire
that
Armin.
interaction. Yeah, and just it resolved
with a box of scraps, no less.
Literally with a box of scraps, and it resolved a lot and was very frustrating to play against. Like just very frustrating to play against. And
also, I guess speaking of like that teams thing, and to this point as well, we played against a Porco in teams, and Ryan got his head ripped off by the deck, and I was fortunate enough to have whoopsied into playing my Deku deck, and then just going, I'll flash the one that would allow you to pick stuff up, and then I'll use a block trick, and then hopefully your turn ends. Did twice. And then, to your point from earlier, the way I killed him was both times I put forms on a sweeping dagger, copied his Mighty Blitz, and shoved the Goblin Bolt in my card pool, and then he can't answer it.
Yeah, because then you get to Goblin Bolt the Barrier Shield.
Yeah, except the Goblin Bolt the Barrier Shield, and the sweeping daggers just does 24. Like, all right.
Yeah, my experience playing against Porco was he did Mighty Blitz and put teaming in his card pool, then played another Mighty Blitz and put teaming in his card pool, picked up teaming, put an armbar in his card pool, jump scare, and then whatever, and then proceeded to play teamings on 5s and pick up the other teaming and put a card that did not count towards progressive in his card pool each time after that. And I just watched it. I watched it happen in front of me and just went, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And he just turned 5 cards in his hand into teamings that just did 8 damage each. And I just watched it happen and I went, wow, this is something. So
all right. Yeah.
like
that.
To go back to what Wub said where the aggro decks can get under the defense, maybe it's like it's just that one, right? Like that, I mean, a lot had to go right, I say in air quotes, but not that much had to go right, probably.
A lot had to go right in your 7-hander with, a 60 card deck. But actually what you meant to say was my opponent needed to have 1 of 4 copies of Mighty Blitz in his hand and have checked or drawn a teaming.
Yeah, probably. Like,
and then we can start that loop,
yeah.
Or start that string at least.
Like I don't know. That didn't feel great
Plus,
to play against, but I guess getting turn tuned doesn't feel great no matter what's happening. Probably.
Right.
Sure, yeah.
And I've probably been turn tuned in less like theatrical ways that I just shrugged and went, okay. But that one was just that one was truly I just looked at it happen and
that
I was
one
like,
was performance art.
Yeah. And I was like, what is he doing? Like how did we get here?
Yeah, it's like watching the if you played Pokemon at any point in time, it's like watching the Baby Clowns deck because you're just juggling energies and just moving cards from different parts of your like everywhere. Like literally, you're just doing the Macarena, like moving things from your to your hand to your discard pile, back to your stage, to your card pool, to your hand. Like, I don't know, man.
It's something.
It's a cutscene deck.
That character exists, I guess.
Yeah.
You're just
And
watching.
I
a
mean,
cutscene.
this has probably been like overly negative, and I think, which is like, I'm not, again, I don't know if that's even how I'm gonna feel a week from now, but
Yeah,
so
I
far
think
when I've
this
been
is
playing, it's been a lot of just throwing my hands up in the air and being like, what is going on? It's just like,
yeah,
what
I
is
don't
happening?
understand. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that this is like the podcast is like fun
Wha-
versus, which is great.
okay,
And also it's good to know like this is we track like 2 or 3 weeks ago or whatever when we did episode 1. It's like, man, we think these characters are so interesting and this is going to be cool and neat, and we think this is probably something to watch out for. And then it's like now we're like, well, here we are. Here's what's happening.
Yeah.
We're crashing out.
Yeah.
It's whatever. And then
Yeah.
2 weeks from now we'll be like, actually, I really like these things. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
I
But
really hope
I
2
think
weeks
that'll
from
be
now
interesting.
I don't. I mean, it would be cool if 2 weeks from now I go, actually, Philip Dowd is a great addition to the format. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't think
To the
I
me,
don't-
2
I
weeks
don't
in the
see it.
future.
I would
who
love
has-
that. Yeah.
Yeah. But
To the
I'd
me,
like
2
nothing
weeks in
more.
the future who has
Yes.
figured out how to defeat
yes.
the prison mill deck.
Yes. To you, 2,000 years from
I-
now, it's just a copy
yes,
of Philip Dowd
literally,
on the
I hope-
floor. Hmm.
Yes, I hope you are. I hope you are happier. I hope you are more secure in what you want to be doing, and I hope your Zeke deck, if it still exists, looks cool.
I suppose so.
Yeah, I think with that being said, there's not really a ton left to cover. I guess in the past, like in the interim 2 weeks, the universal format event that we talked about last episode did not wind up firing because of like scheduling conflicts, as far as like not that many people signed up because there was like stuff going on. But that
I
still
think they
is
just
something interesting.
moved it and not enough people knew, or I don't really know. But if it's happening
Yeah.
in the future, I'll be paying attention.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
On top of that, other notable things, I think maybe even before the last episode that we recorded, or like very shortly after, Rob, Tito's Tabletop on Twitch hit his 2,500 goal, has since smashed past that for the St. Jude's Play Live campaign this month. I believe there's one more stream left this month. This coming Wednesday. This podcast should be uploaded on Tuesday the 27th. So if you're listening to it the day it comes out, May 28th, I believe there is another stream on Tito's Tabletop. Still doing the St. Jude Play Live thing. Feel free to come by if you are able to do so. The Caleb Chrome Rare giveaway happened this past Wednesday, as was advertised. It went off without a hitch. Rob is out of the heinous jelly beans, so if you were there for that, sorry. That will not
You're
be
a
happening
sick
anymore.
freak if you're there for that.
You're
But-
disgusting.
but-
Yeah,
you
and you can
know.
hide your wanting to donate to help children. We know who. But yeah, that being said, this has been Where Wub episode 3. Also, we got a new logo. Shoutouts to Andrea. Wub loves it. He's endorsed it fully.
That's perfect. No notes.
It's everything, yeah. But that being said, guys, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in episode 4, where we will format